Gardner Minshew isn't particularly good, as he ranked tied for 25th out of 35 in expected points added, which if you don't know what that stat is, I have a video that breaks it down. It's one of the best stats around because it's useful in helping define just how good a quarterback is playing, but also how well the offense and defense is performing as well. In addition to that stat, though, he was 13th in quarterback rating, which is kind of jarring to be that different in the stats because they usually correlate to some degree. His supporting cast didn't hold him back either, though, as it was alright, ranking 20th best. So when everything is factored together, he ranked as my 28th best quarterback, so he is not a particularly good option. With that said, at backup quarterback, it's more of the same, which isn't actually a bad thing. Aiden O'Connell is a solid backup, ranking right behind Minshew as my 29th best quarterback, which again, pretty solid for a backup, so they're basically interchangeable. I think there definitely will be a competition, even though Minshew just was brought in on a decent contract. O'Connell is the younger player with more to offer, as he's a little bit more athletic, I would say. They both have noodle arms, but O'Connell has the higher potential because he's just a bit younger. So there's going to be a competition for sure, and it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. The O-line for Las Vegas is solid. They were 15th in pass block win rate and 18th in run block win rate, which are ESPN stats. Compared to last year, it's hard to project how much better or worse they'll be, because as compared to last year, they have 2 of 5 starters being different. But I think things will be a little bit worse, albeit not by much. Greg Van Roten was very solid at right guard for the Raiders last year, and Jermaine Illuminor was extremely steady as a tackle. They'll need replaced. Jackson Powers Johnson was a very well-regarded prospect by most and was my 28th best player in the draft. Since 2019, second-round interior players average a 61 PFF grade, which would be notably lower than Van Roten's 75 PFF grade, but more than enough to keep the O-line solid. Additionally, Thayer Munford had a 74 PFF grade this past season compared to Illuminor's nice 69 grade, so there's a chance that they upgrade at tackle and get a little bit worse at guard. But I think that Powers Johnson is going to be better than the average interior lineman because he just has the pro-ready potential that you love to see in young players. He's very well refined. He's a good athlete. There's basically no deficiencies in his game. I think he can be better than the average second-round pick is. So I think that the downgrade between him and Van Roten should be a little bit less than it would be for the average second-rounder. Their depth is fine at tackle, as DJ Glaze was drafted in the third, where third-round tackles average a solid 60 PFF grade, which is good for a backup. They also have reliable interior lineman, Andrus Peat. He's a solid guard, and he also had a 60 PFF grade. And lastly, Cody Whitehair has the potential to be a solid backup, too, but that's far from guaranteed because he's been pretty rough lately. Regarding their weapons, they're sneaky good. Devontae Adams was 19th in yards per game and 68th in yards per reception, which makes him look not as good as he actually is because he would be a lot higher in both categories if he had better quarterback play, especially because he just couldn't be hit deep down the field with Jimmy Garoppolo and Aiden O'Connell not having great deep balls. Additionally, Jacoby Myers was 48th in yards per game and 59th in yards per reception. Michael Gallup was just 117th in yards per game, but he wasn't heavily featured in Dallas's offense and was just returning from a serious ACL injury. He was 49th in yards per reception, so he still flashed some ability to get deep downfield, which will be needed because it's nice to have the threat of a deep downfield winner, even if your quarterback isn't always the most precise in that area of the field. At tight end / big slot, Brock Bowers is a fantastic blue chip prospect. He was 7th on my board and could very well be the best or second best weapon for the Raiders by the end of the year. He has that high potential. He is great after the catch. He's a solid run blocker for the tight end position and really good for a slot. He has a lot to like, and he runs sharp routes also, so basically the only knock on him is he's a little bit small for the position, but if he's a big slot, he's actually about right weight-wise. Alexander Madison was 53rd out of 59 halfbacks in PFF grade, so running back is a bit of an issue. Amir Abdullah and Zamir White are all unproven or appearing to be at the end of their careers too, so running back is not a great strength of theirs. Depth-wise, Trey Tucker is a great fourth wide receiver. He actually might be starting as their slot. And Michael Mayer and Harrison Bryant are really good tight end 2 and tight end 3 options. So they have some nice depth. At cornerback, the Raiders are good except for one clear weakness. Jack Jones was ranked 33rd out of 127 corners in PFF grade. He's one of the best run defending corners in the league and is very solid in coverage too, so he has some real nice value. In the nickel, Nate Hobbs was graded 42nd best by PFF. He's big and physical nickel at 6'1" and is also really good against the run too, so they have a good thing going with their defense against the run for their corners. Their weakness, though, is outside cornerback number 2, Jacorion Bennett, who was ranked 124th out of all cornerbacks. Bennett has 4.3 speed, but hasn't put it together yet. As his grade would suggest, he is pretty rough. So if he doesn't put it together, there's going to be a real big issue for the defense. But if he does play at a decent level, he could really be the glue that makes everything work with the Raiders, because at that point they have a pretty good secondary. At safety, they are solid. Trayvon Moehrig was 30th out of 95 safeties in PFF grade. He's good in the box and really good at free safety, in addition to being solid as a nickel too. He's very good against the run and in coverage, so there's no deficiencies in his game. And secondly, Marcus Epps is solid too, ranking 55th according to PFF. He is better against the run than he is the pass, but he's fine in both regards. He also has some versatility as he spent 120 plus snaps at nickel cornerback, in the box, and at free safety. So there's nice chess pieces on the defense for the Raiders as well. Regarding their defensive back depth, 4th round pick DeCameron Richardson is their only real option. Rookie 4th round corners average 57 PFF grades, which would be 15 points higher than what Jacorion Bennett had this past year. So Richardson is somebody to watch out for, but again, with like 3rd and 4th round picks, especially 4th round picks, they're just lottery tickets. At that point, if they contribute, that's great, but it's hard to say what they're going to be ahead of time. On the D-line, the Raiders are incredibly stacked. Max Crosby finished 4th out of 122 in edge pressures. He's also maybe the best run defender at the edge position too. Malcolm Kuntz ranked 31st for edge pressures and is also solid against the run. So at the edge position, there is no issue whatsoever with either of their guys. They are very good at both aspects of the game. Christian Wilkins was 9th out of 142 in defensive interior pressures, and is usually a beast as a run defender, even if he wasn't the greatest in that area this past season. Additionally, John Jenkins was 81st in defensive interior pressures and isn't bad against the run, so their defensive line as a whole is very formidable. As for their depth on the D-line, the inside is strong with Adam Butler, who is a roughly average starter, so he's a premier rotational guy. At edge, Tyree Wilson has near unlimited potential as he's so athletic, but he hasn't put it together yet, so it's hard to bank on him. He also has the potential to be an interior player because he does have the physicality that's needed to play on the inside, but he's not fleshed out at either position. The linebacking core for Vegas is pretty good. Robert Spillane ranked 17th out of 82 linebackers in PFF grade. He's elite against the run and as a pass rusher. He struggles a bit against the pass, but He is solid overall. And Divine Diablo was the opposite, ranking 60th out of all linebackers in PFF grade, and being best in pass coverage. Overall, they balance each other out, but can struggle in certain aspects, so they're not the most well-equipped duo, but they at least balance each other's weaknesses out, so they have that going for them. Depth at linebacker is non-existent. I don't even know who's going to be their third linebacker, to be completely honest, so they definitely need Spillane and Diablo to stay healthy if they want any competency at the linebacker position. In all, the Raiders are really strong in the areas they're strong at, but have some clear weaknesses too. Minshew or O'Connell isn't going to cut it as a starter. Their offensive line is just fine, not really a strength though. Their weapons are good, especially Adams and Bowers, but their running back room leaves a lot to be desired, which would normally be fine, but not so much when quarterback is also a weakness. Their defensive backs are good, aside for Jacorion Bennett, who is a real weakness. Then their defensive line is exceptional, definitely top 5 in the league. Lastly, their linebacker core is solid, not really a strength or a weakness. If they had better quarterback play, they'd be a real threat to beat anyone, but since they have a poor quarterback room, they can challenge teams, but only to a point. So I think it's going to be next year that they really get going, because by then they should have a quarterback, and the rest of the roster is actually pretty well fleshed out, so they should be a solid team next year. Those are my thoughts on the Raiders. Be sure to let me know what yours are in the comment section below, and also be sure to like and subscribe for more NFL content.